طيب. This hadith, number 290, the author says, narrated Aisha radiallahu anha, and this is number 215 in the English translation. It says, narrated Aisha radiallahu anha, Allah's Messenger used to begin the salah with takbir, and used to begin the recitation with Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And when he bowed down, he neither kept his head up nor bent it down, but kept it between that, i.e. those two positions. When he raised his head from the bowing position, he did not prostrate till his head stood erect. And when he raised his head after prostration, he did not prostrate until he had sat up. And at the end of every 2 rak'ah, he said the tahiyyah. And he used to sit on his left foot and position the right one vertically. And he prohibited the devil's way of sitting on the buttocks. And he forbade people to spread out their arms like a wild beast. And he used to finish the prayer with the taslim, reported by Muslim, and it has a defect. As we can see in this hadith, once again, this is a narration or report of what the Prophet ﷺ did in most of his prayer. This is not a command. It's not a story of another man. This is a direct report from the Rasul ﷺ and how he offered the salah. So just like the other previous hadith, this is like, this is a body. So this is a solid piece here. Okay? This is a solid piece, this hadith. It's not pertaining to many, we have some hadith that is a specific command for one action in the salah, or a specific virtue of doing this in the salah, and reciting, and moving the finger, and salamming out, right? This is a general description of the salah. Not every single detail is mentioned, but the main structure or the body of the salah is mentioned in this hadith, right? So therefore, we should understand this is a very important hadith. And the more you understand the importance of something, the stronger your desire will be to learn that thing. You understand how vital and crucial something is. Your attention, you pay more attention to it. Naam? Khairan, inshallah. So Aisha radiallahu anha, she narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to open up the prayer with the takbir, just like the previous hadith. That narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did it himself, and he commanded the man to make the takbir. And then she says, وَالْقِرَاءَ بِالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. And this is a linguistical issue here. Because if you say, وَالْقِرَاءَةَ, then it's mansoob. معطوف على مفعول به. Or if you say وَالْقِرَاءَةِ, then it's what? It's majroor. Why is it majroor? وبدأ إعرابه. وكان يستفتح الصلاة بالتكبير والقراءة معطوف على القراءة. جر. صحيح? If you say that he used to open up يستفتح الصلاة بالتكبير والقراءة بالحمد لله رب العالمين. It's a difference, and that's the issue that's going to come later on. What is the first thing that you should recite in your prayer? And what is the thing that is obligatory to recite in your prayer? If you make a fatha on it, that's one rule. That he's to begin the qira'ah by saying Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sahih? If you make it with a kasra, yastaftihu, it's a different. Bil takbiri wal qira'ati. One interpretation is the Fatiha itself, including Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and one interpretation is starting the Fatiha off with just Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. It's a technical issue later on. When you recite the Fatiha, do you say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim aloud? Yeah. According to this hadith, it's possible. Wadih? It shows the importance of the Arabic language and the importance of the Arabic grammar. One vowel sound can change the ruling. Wadih? يستفتح القراءة بكذا. He's to recite Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, meaning the Fatiha. Or he's to start the recitation while actually saying Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen first. Everybody got that? طيب. Okay, so the first point we get from this hadith is that it's from the sunnah to open up the prayer. And the prayer should be opened up with the takbir. And that the person should recite in the salah And that which he should recite in the salah is Surah Al-Fatiha. She then says, and whenever he made ruku', لَمْ يُشْخِصْ رَأْسَهُ لَمْ يُسَوِّبْ. He didn't bend his head down, nor did he raise it. That the head in the ruku' should not be like this, sticking up, nor should it be down, as many people do in the salah. Many people do this. Whether they're aware of it or unaware of it, many people, they do this in their salah, the ruku'. The head should be as straight as possible, aligned with the back. Like a spear. Not too much like this, nor like that. Right? She then says, and whenever he came out of ruku', he did not go into sujood until he stood up erect. Like the previous ahadith, حَتَّى تَعْتَدِلَ قَائِمًا, until you're straight. And this hadith shows us that the person must have tranquility. How can you have tranquility? How can you stand up straight without being in a tranquil? It's impossible. You're moving from one position to the next. Until you stand up and you stand still for a moment. And you're as straight as possible. All of the bones in your back are straight. But if you just say, Sami Allahu liman hamidah, and you go right back down, it's impossible to stand up straight. Right? And therefore you won't be tranquil in your salah. And this is something that is very important for us to bring to our people's attention, especially children. Especially children, they pray very fast. And they think that that's salah. You have to tell them that's not the intention of the salah. The intention of the salah is to think about what you're saying. That you're standing in front of Allah. And that salah should make you a better Muslim when you're finished. And that only comes when a person is at ease and not rushing in the salah. Then Aisha radiallahu anha, she says, and whenever he raised his head from the sajda, he wouldn't go to the next sajda until he sat down, sat straight, he was tranquil once again. وَكَانَ يَقُولُ, and in every 2 rak'ah he used to say the tahiyyah, meaning the what? The tashahhud. The tashahhud. Why is the tashahhud called the tahiyyah, Mustafa? Why would it be called a tahiyyah? Tahiyyah means the greeting. The greeting or the salutation. Why would it be called tahiyyah? Because you sing to Ibrahim. What's the first thing you sing in the tashahhud? At-tahiyyatu lillah. Tayyib. Tayyib. So you sing greetings to Allah? You sing greetings to Allah. At-tahiyyatu lillah. What? Fadal Tariq. Huh?
You sending the greetings from Allah.
That's different. That's outside of the salah. Hayat Allah is outside of the salah. At-tahiyyatu lillah. To Allah. So you sing greetings to Allah or for Allah?
For Allah.
For Allah.
Lillah.
So what did the ulama say what that meant? At-tahiyyatu lillah.
Like praise.
Praise? You said praise?
No.
Praise.
Praise.
Tayyib. Where do you get that from? The word tahiyyah means greeting, not praise. You interpreted the hadith based on what?
I don't know. The transliteration says our compliment.
F1? I can't hear you.
Transliteration says our
Transliteration. The word tahiyyah means tahiyyah, salam, peace, salutations, a greeting. You say praise. So this is the issue. We have to understand what's being said in the tashahhud. What do the ulama say, Abu Abdurrahman, at-tahiyyatu lillah? They say things about that and what that means, but do we know? We need to learn that. But here, inshallah, you both have your project for next Wednesday. Abu Zayd has a lot. Khairan, inshallah. So in this hadith, we benefit what? That is from the sunnah to perform the what? The tashahhud. It doesn't say that it's obligatory. But it says that the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, he what? He did it. So from the sunnah in the salah, the sifat of salah, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is that you offer the tashahhud between every 2 rak'at. Aisha radiallahu anha, she then says, and he used to yafrish, to sit on his left leg and position his right leg, as we explained before. وَكَانَ يَنْهَى, and he also forbid the people from the sitting of the devil. Which was what? What is the uqbat al-shaytan? Sitting on the buttocks. Where does that come from? Where is that explained? But who's explained that term uqbat al-shaytan, the sitting of the devil, means sitting on the buttocks? Where? Do we have that in a hadith? Did Aisha explain that? Who explained that to mean that? Fahimtum? Everybody understand the question? It says the sitting of the devil. That's all it says. Man, and here we don't know. Right? If you know, please tell us. The hadith, there is a tafsir to it. It's mentioned. But we have to know this. Right? Khairan inshallah. So in this hadith is the prohibition, regardless whether it's haram or whether it's disliked, to do the sitting of the devil. And whatever the sitting of the devil is, hadith will find out for us for next week's class. She then says, the Prophet ﷺ also forbade the people from laying out their arms and spreading them like a wild animal, like an animal of prey. And this part of the hadith is the prohibition for us to imitate animals in the salah. And for us to put our arms in a certain specific manner in the salah. The next part says, and he used to finish the salah with the taslim. That the Prophet ﷺ used to leave the prayer by making the taslim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Which will come in more explanation later on in the book. So this hadith in general shows us the general beginning, middle, and the end of the Prophet ﷺ salah. He started with the takbir. In the middle of the prayer he recited. He stood, he bowed, he prostrated, and he sat. And he left the salah with the taslim. The prayer is not to be left unless it is done with what? Taslim. As Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, he used to. It was a common practice of his. Khairan inshallah. He says the hadith is collected by Imam Muslim and it has a defect, a hidden defect, which we won't speak about that right now. The hadith is collected by Imam Muslim. The hadith is collected by Imam Muslim. So, Tariq, how many pillars of a prayer are mentioned in this hadith?
How many pillars?
Pillars.
You got the takbir, which is one.
Takbir, good.
You got the recitation of the Fatiha.
Recitation of the Fatiha, ahsan.
You got the standing.
Standing, ahsan.
You got the bowing.
Bowing, ahsan.
You got the sitting.
Sitting.
And then you got the prostration.
The sujood.
Taslim.
Taslim. Anything else? Did you miss something? Tashahhud. Which tashahhud is a pillar of Islam, a pillar of the salah? The first or the second? Both of them. Just the second. Just the second. Jusha. Just the first. The last one best. Every two rak'ahs, so both of them. طيب. خير. تفضل.
Well, in Maghrib, we have, two recitations of
خير إن شاء الله. وعن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم طيب. What other sunnah do we have in the prayer? Recommended acts of the prayer is what? Recommended acts of the prayer? Tashahhud. He says tashahhud. What else? Reciting the Fatiha. Allah, we said that's a pillar already. That's a main piece of the salah. Okay. The sunnah, the recommended acts of the salah from this hadith are what?
from this hadith,
right? Aywa, Fadl Tariq.
Sami Allahu liman hamidah.
Doesn't say that he said that.
The way that you sit.
Sitting between the sajdatayn. Rukn, pillar, or a wajib, or a sunnah? Sunnah. So you don't have to sit between the sajdatayn? Let us make sure we understand arkan. Abu Abdurrahman, he understands it, but it's just a small glitch. Abu Abdurrahman, al-jalsa bayna sajdatayn. Is that an outward action that has a fil, or a qawl, or something that you move on a small part of your body? So therefore that has to be a rukn, because it's an outward piece of the salah. It's part of the structure of the prayer. Sahih? When we say arkan, as we explained, the arkan are the actual components of the salah, the main body parts of the salah, the skeleton of the salah. And it's impossible for someone to make sajda and go to the next position without sitting again. Sah? Abu Abdurrahman? So therefore that jalsa is a what? It's a pillar. It's a pillar. All of the pillars are obligatory. But all obligations are not pillars. Well, every major outward action of the salah is a what? Is a pillar. Right? Something that the companions, all of them narrated and they saw. The ones that were close, the ones that stayed for him for a few months, for years, they saw those main body parts of the salah. Those are the arkan. But if there's no hadith that the Messenger of Allah states, and these are the pillars of the salah. No. But the scholars, they made tatabbu' and they made istiqra. They looked into the hadith. They studied them. They did a deep, intel study of the hadith, and they deduced and they extracted, these are the main parts of the salah. The basic necessities of the salah. Wadih? Just like the prerequisites, the things that come before it. For him now? You got that? Khairan, inshallah. So from the sunnah of this, of the hadith, the things which you are requested to do, but they're not obligatory or binding, the sunnah, one may say what? وَكَانَ يَقُولُ He used to say between every 2 rak'ah, the tashahhud. Sitting for the tashahhud is one thing. وَالتَّلَفُّظ شَيْءٍ آخَرُ Sitting is one thing, and actually uttering the tashahhud is a different issue. Right, honey? Father, Right, that's one thing. Because I may pray behind you, and I may not realize that you're actually saying something in your tashahhud. But I know for sure that you sat down between those 2 rak'atain. That's a major part of the salah that no one could have missed. Wadih? No one could have missed that. Okay, the next hadith, the author, he says, وعن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يرفع يديه حذو منكبيه إذا افتتح الصلاة وإذا كبر للركوع وإذا رفع رأسه من الركوع متفق عليه. في حديث أبي حميد عند أبي داود يرفع يديه حتى يحاذي بهما منكبيه ثم يكبر. ولمسلم عن مالك بن الحويرث نحو حديث ابن عمر لكن قال حتى يحاذي بهما فروع أذنيه. The next hadith is narrated by Ibn Umar, may Allah have mercy, and may Allah be pleased with them both, that the Prophet ﷺ used to raise his hands towards to his shoulders whenever he opened up the prayer, and whenever he made takbir for ruku', and whenever he raised his head from the ruku'. And this hadith is agreed upon by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. He says, and in the hadith of Abu Humayd, that's collected by Abu Dawood, he would raise his hands until he reached his shoulders and then make takbir. The version of Muslim states the same hadith of Malik ibn Huwaydith, just like Ibn Umar's hadith, but as an addition, an extra piece that says, until he reached the tips of his ears or his earlobes. Until he reached his earlobes. These ahadith here all prove that it is from the sunnah to raise your hands in the salah. It is from the sunnah, it is from the way that the Messenger ﷺ offered the salah, is that he raised his hands in certain positions. In certain positions. That's the general benefit from all of those ahadith. Specifically speaking, the hadith of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu shows us that he raised his hands how many times? Yahya? How many times did he say? And just 3? Shukri, how many times did the hadith say that he raised his hands? Yusha. How many times?
What?
Just once.
I would say once.
What? Yeah.
كم مرة؟ 3 مرات. كان يرفع يديه حذو منكبيه إذا افتتح الصلاة وإذا كبر للركوع وإذا رفع رأسه من الركوع. كم مرة؟ 3 times. 3 different places he raised his hands. So we benefit from this. It could be obligatory to raise your hands in a salah, Abu Khalil, but we know for sure that it is recommended to raise your hands in these 3 places. That's for sure, without any doubt. The hadith is totally authentic. Agreed upon by Bukhari and Muslim. that whenever the Messenger of Allah ﷺ used to offer the prayer, he raised his hands in these three positions. So any madhab, any fatwa, any opinion that states you shouldn't raise your hands in the salah. You can't raise your hands in the salah. Only raise your hands once in the salah. It takes away from your khushu' in the salah. It bothers your conscience. We know that is false and incorrect. Cut, clean, and dry. Whoever said it. Because the Rasul ﷺ, he raised his hands in the salah. So when you want to tell a Muslim that you see praying without raising their hands, the first thing that you're going to do is not to say in Sheikh Albani's book or Sheikh Fulan. You're going to say Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam in Bukhari and Muslim. As we explained so many times, the proper way of telling someone what to do is that you connect them and you tie them directly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his book and the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The hadith is clear. This is not a hadith that we need a scholar. This is a simple hadith. He raised his hands. The other interpretations, the other technical issues, and some madhahib that state that you shouldn't raise your hands. Some scholars may even say, don't raise your hands. It's impermissible. And now, many Muslims, and the hadith is clear as shams. So as we explained, we'll explain again, the general 9 to 5 Muslim, whenever something is clear and lucid to him, it is impermissible for him to take the fatwa or the opinion of any human being, anyone. When it's wadih, when it's clear. As for if it's unclear, if it's a confusing issue, a technical issue, then that's different. I'm going to ask the scholar who I trust the most, who I think has the most knowledge of this issue. That's fine. But when it's clear, and you know for sure that it's clear, it is haram for you to ask someone. Because Allah Azza wa Jalla says, "In kuntum la ta'lamun." Ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. He did not say, "Is'alu ahla dhikr." And that's the end of the ayah. Bil-bayyinati wa zubur. Sahih? It didn't say, he said, ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. If you're confused, if you're doubtful, then that's one issue. Some issues of fiqh are extremely technical. And if you're not a student, if you don't have usul al-fiqh, and mustalah hadith, and this and that, then it's best that you ask someone whose deen you trust and respect, and whose religion and knowledge you feel safe with. If that's not the case, the hadith says the Prophet ﷺ raised his hands in the salah. There's no further interpretation needed. Khairan, inshaAllah. The next hadith states, or this hadith of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, it says that he raised his hands until he reached his shoulders. And as we pointed out in our previous classes, it's incorrect to do this, as many brothers do. They go like this. And they do a quick movement. That's wrong. The Prophet raised his hands to his shoulders. Khayr, inshaAllah. Also, it says here, in another narration, he says, his earlobes, the tips of his ears. So there are 3 different ways of doing it, which are all mentioned in the authentic sunnah. The first way is the shoulders. The second way is between the shoulders and the ears. And the third way is to actually raise them to the ears. Like as it says in this hadith. Khayran, inshallah. We don't want to make any confusion. The hand should be raised in the salah. We'll just stop right there. Because when I say, the scholars, they say we don't listen, we keep it simple. So we benefit from this hadith that is from the sifat of salah to raise the hands. Khayran, inshallah. The next hadith author mentions, he says, وعن وائل بن حجر رضي الله عنه قال صليت مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فوضع يده اليمنى على اليسرى على صدره أخرجه ابن خزيمة. He says, narrated Wa'il ibn Hujr radiallahu anhu, that once I prayed with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so he placed his right hand above his left hand on his chest. And the hadith is collected by Imam Ibn Khuzaymah rahimahullah ta'ala, from the great scholars of hadith and of the Shafi'i madhab, who died in the early 3rd century. Narrated Wa'il ibn Hujr. Remember this name, it's a very important name. I prayed with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so he placed his right hand above his left hand on his chest. And the hadith is collected by Imam Ibn Khuzaymah. Khayran, inshaAllah. Wa'il ibn Hujr radiallahu anhu is one of the companions who narrated to us a good portion of the description of the Prophet ﷺ's prayer, as we mentioned in the first class, that we have a few main staple ahadith that give us a general description of the prayer. Who were those people? Those few companions were who? Abu Zayd. Where's Abu Bakr? Faddal, Abu Zayd. La. Abu Huraira. Hasan. طيب يلا بسم الله. Aisha radiallahu anha. And there's one more. The Wahid is now. There's one before that we took. لا
Ibn Umar.
But that's la. The Rifai ibn Rafi, that's the one he told the man what to do. He told him the direct action of the Prophet ﷺ. There's two more companions if you want to get first. Even if it was not in the book, we explained it.
What's the question?
The question is, we said that there are a few companions who narrated to us cornerstone ahadith with regards to Sifat al-Salah. With regards to the Sifat al-Salah, there are many ahadith, but the main ahadith are 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hold on. طيب. Aisha radiallahu anha. Abu Humayd al-Sa'idi. Ahsant. And who else? One more. Malik ibn al-Huwaydith. Radiallahu anhu. These are the main ahadith where we find the majority of the actual description of the Prophet ﷺ's prayer. Wait, moving on. He says that when I prayed with the Prophet ﷺ, he placed his right hand above his left on his chest. This hadith proves that it is from the Sunnah that your hands should be placed where? On your chest, and the right hand should be placed on the left hand. As for the right hand being placed on the left hand, then that's clear, kashams. As the Prophet ﷺ explained in another authentic hadith, that the prophets were ordered to put their right hands on their left hands in the prayer. And there are other narrations regarding this. As for the hands being placed on the chest, then that's the problematic issue. That is the problematic issue. Are the hands to be placed on the chest, between the chest and the navel, or beneath the navel? That's the issue in which there is long khilaf amongst the people of knowledge, from the Salaf and the Khalaf. And it's important for us to understand that, that when we see someone praying with his hands beneath his navel, we can't come and say, he's not upon the Sunnah. He's not Salafi. How do you know he's not Salafi? Because I saw him praying like this. He's not Salafi, he's Hanafi. This is incorrect. It's a very ugly mistake. It's a very ugly mistake, according to two aspects. The aspect of hadith and its science, with regards to this hadith and the other narrations, and from the aspect of fiqh. And when you actually look and see what the companions and the Salaf and Imam Ahmed and Shafi'i and Malik, you actually see how they prayed. It's a different story than what you may read in the book. Right? So we have to understand something. As Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah mentioned, there was never an imam from the people of the Sunnah who intentionally opposed the Sunnah. Never. Never. There's no one who was an imam of the Sunnah who said, this hadith is clear, I'm not going to act upon it. Never. But they differed, and they had their views and different opinions because of, maybe he didn't know about the hadith. Maybe he didn't see the hadith to be authentic. Maybe he had a different understanding of the hadith. Imam Malik was in Medina, and what he would look at what the Tabi'een did, and then he would implement the hadith. How did they understand it? Abu Hanifa was in Kufa in Iraq. He had different usul, he had different principles. That if this one single narration went against a major rule of Islam, and so on and so forth. So there's technical reasons behind the long ikhtilaf. The point I'm trying to make is that if it's not an issue in which is clear opposition to the Sunnah, well, like raising your hands, as we just mentioned, then it isn't for someone to come along 1,000 years later or 1300 years or 1200 years later and say this is bid'ah. And this person isn't on the sunnah if he does this. That's incorrect. Tayyib, you read the statement of Imam At-Tirmidhi, rahimahullah ta'ala, and he quotes the people of knowledge and the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum. This was an easy affair with them. And it wasn't a tight, harsh affair with them. Tayyib, there are three main views. The first view is that the hands should be placed on the chest. The second view, as we explained, between the chest and the navel, you have an option. And the third view states that you must place them beneath the navel. There's a hadith with regards to the hands being placed beneath the navel, which is extremely weak, which is extremely inauthentic. The hadith in which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ is quoted to have placed them on his chest, the scholars differ over his authenticity. Okay? The ulama of hadith of the past, some of them said this hadith is da'if, and it was defective, and it wasn't sahih, and it was an error. Another ulama, they said rather it's fair and it's acceptable. Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala explained that if you take the view that it's weak, it's more authentic than the hadith about putting them beneath the navel. If you say that it's weak, it's not as weak as that other hadith. So the summary is what? Is that the opinion which seems to be the most correct and Allah knows best is that the Muslim has the option of placing them here, and placing them beneath his navel. And I know a lot of you, this may be the first time you hear this. You may be looking at me like, this is weird, this is strange, right? This is a bid'ah. Sheikh Fulan or Sheikh Alan or this Sheikh I read and he said, but when we say Minhaj al-Salaf, the Minhaj al-Salaf is what? Is a Minhaj Juz'i wala Kamil? Kamil, center. Minhaj al-Salaf is something that's total and complete for every single aspect of your life. Not just about Aqidah or Minhaj, but Minhaj al-Salaf is how you pray and where you take your knowledge from. And how do you understand the ahadith? Would you take the statement of Imam Ahmed regarding ahadith before the statement of a scholar who came in the 14th century? Hakada. Everybody understand the point? The hujjah is the hujjah. Proof is proof. But when we say, the people of the past, follow the people of the past, all good lies in the people of the past, وَكُلُّ خَيْرٍ فِي اتِّبَاعِ مَنْ سَلَفَ وَكُلُّ شَرٍ فِي ابْتِدَاعِ مَنْ خَلَفَ. That has to be applied to kullu shay, and not just one aspect of the deen. The Salaf, they refuted the people of innovations, and the Salaf, they stood in prayer at night. They sought ilm, and they offered worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وهكذا. Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, his method was he looked at the Amal Ahl Medina, what the people in Medina did. Whatever they did, he considered that to be correct. Because the Tabi'een were direct students from the Sahaba. And the Sahaba were direct disciples of. So therefore, he said their interpretation is the closest. Because they have a direct link to the Prophet ﷺ. And they lived in his city. وَهَكَذَا. And Imam Ahmed, his view and his stance, if the hadith is clear, if the hadith is lucid, khalas. And there were other occasions we find Imam Ahmed being asked about something and there is no direct proof for it, and he may say, Lam asma. I never heard any of the people of the past mentioning this. I never heard any of the people of the past allowing this. So the point that we're trying to get to is that if the Salaf differed over an issue, or if they agreed on an issue, then it is unbefitting for someone to come behind and do opposite of what they did. Well, if they did it and practiced it, we're not talking about 1 or 2 or 3 people. Many of them, if they did it, and they narrate, Imam Ahmed himself, the Imam Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and his madhab states that it should be done beneath the navel. So if you see someone praying beneath the navel and say, he's not upon the Sunnah, make sure that you say that about all those other scholars, because that's what they did. Another example is going down on your knees and your hands, which will come later on. The issue over the beard. Can you trim your beard? Is your beard trimmed? And the list goes on. You read a statement of one scholar and halas, that's it. Anyone else is mubtadi', is innovative, is not upon the Sunnah. And this is sick. It's a very perverted ideology, and this is something that's widespread, Widespread. If you don't, khalas, la. But then you go back and you find Ibn Umar, Ibn Abbas, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri from the companions. Wow, they did that. So we have to go back to the earliest generation of the Muslims. Khairan inshallah. Clear on this? So, in summary, that would seem to be يعني Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala stated is that this hadith, some scholars say it's authentic and it's the closest. So the hands should be placed on the chest, and if a person went to put them here, then we cannot say that it's haram here as opposed to sunnah, because all of those hadith, the scholars differ on. They differ on their authenticity. Khayran inshaAllah. Father Abu Rahman.
I'm confused because it states that it's okay to use either here or in the middle or under the
Right. If we don't have,
if the hadith is
aywa, that's the issue.
Why the scholars they including putting the hand under the neck if the hadith is da'if? Why
Well,
just throw the hadith over?
Right. Good question. If the hadith is weak, why even mention its opinion? Because it's clearly stated that we should put the right hand on the left hand in the authentic hadith. Those are hadith Bukhari and Muslim, right hand on the left. Al-Muhim, right on the left. Hadith of Sa'id ibn Sa'ad. And when the Prophet ﷺ said, we umirna ma'ashar al-anbiya and nada'a aymanana ala shama'ina fi salah. We were ordered to put our right hands on our left hands. Those hadith are authentic. So the question is, if it's from the sunnah to put your right hand on your left hand, where do you put it? Because it's impossible for your hands to be by themselves, and you see, it has to be placed somewhere. Well, that point, before you go on to the issue of the chest, that's well. The hadith says right on the left. Not this hadith, the other hadith which are clearly authentic. Right, honey? If you put your right hand on your left hand, where will you put them? Here, 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 here. Al-Muhim, they must be placed somewhere. So, G. Al-Khutwa Thaniya. The second step is, we have some hadith that state where they should be put. Some hadith are really weak, some are different over it, so on and so forth. So, if I say, I consider them all to be weak, then that means the door is what for me? The door is what? Maftuh. Anyway, it's maftuh, it's open. Khayran inshallah. So, we have some of the companions, some of the tabi'een, some of the ulama of the past, who put their hands beneath their navels. Some of them who put them on their chests. Some who put them between their chest and their navels. So therefore, whether the hadith is da'if or not, the hands have to be placed somewhere. And if we have some type of asl, then you act upon it or act upon it. Well, but the question, if the hadith is totally weak, that's a good way of looking at it. But there's some issues in which we totally throw away a hadith, pertaining to an issue of aqidah, or issues saying this is haram, and so on and so forth. And there are some issues in which there are tabi'een or sahaba that acted upon that hadith. Or if that hadith wasn't the basis of what they did it. So the hands must be placed somewhere. And the most appropriate place to put the hands is in the front of your body. Agreed? Not on the side, not on your head, not behind your neck. They have to be placed somewhere in front. And the closest place is here. This area. All it? Clear? Abu Rahman?
Well, that's...
Right, not yet?
No, I'm clear. I just want to share for my...
If a person, Abu Rahman, we're not requesting him to agree with us. We just want him to understand what we're saying. It's not a restriction.
No, only I want to end it.
No,
if I'm taking time, you could continue.
Follow.
No, I'm just bringing the explanation of Shaykh Al-Bayr rahimahullah when it comes to this issue. When we asked this question, it was confusion. The authentic hadith which you just mentioned, there's not one, there's a couple of them. When we know, we put our right hand contact with the left, right?
Aywa.
But one of the hadiths, when the Shaykh Al-Bayr rahimahullah, he mentioned that the hadith is clearly saying, the Arabic, we say here what? Arm, right?
Aywa.
But in Arabic, I believe there's a specific names for the hand, and after you pass your hand.
Wow.
One of the hadiths of the Sahih, what the Shaykh Al-Bayr rahimahullah mentioned that the hadith says that you take your right, put it on your forearm. Right?
Aywa.
Not here.
Wow.
Not on top of your hand.
Aywa.
On here.
And that can only be done?
When he tried to bring the point is, if you have your hand here, try to put your hand under your nipple.
No, you can.
And you prove that for you to be comfortable in your salah, you're not going to struggle. So basically, you'll be free. For you to get free, you go back to the nature. What the nature is, you put your hand where it's comfortable. Which is comfortable is your chest.
Fine. Right.
So that's why.
Jimmy. Very good point. Abu Abdurrahman mentions about putting the hand on the forearm. If the hand is on the forearm, he says it's very difficult for it to be beneath the navel, especially if a person has short arms. Sahih, one may say, this is beautiful. It is. Walakin, one issue, Abu Abdurrahman, Allah yahfadak, is that we have other hadith that clearly state that a person, that the Prophet ﷺ, the hands were also placed on the kef. And the kef in the Arabic language is only the hand. And also is another narration is ar-rasq. And the rasq is the corporal, the wrist. Well, so the hadith about the forearm, it doesn't state that it's obligatory to be placed on the forearm. No, I'm not saying that you said that, I'm going on it. So therefore, we have the hand, wrist, and forearm. So if a person takes the view that I'm going to place it on my forearm, then he's going to place them here. But if he says the other hadith which are authentic, the hand and the wrist, then that can be placed beneath. Ala kullin, the mas'ala, we don't want to make confusion or going too long. I just want to, give a little enlightenment on it, because it's very important, ikhwan, in affairs of da'wah, in affairs of fiqh, they go hand in hand. Affairs, when you're trying to call someone to the sunnah, it goes hand in hand with the fiqh. And if you don't have that proper fiqh, you're going to make harm. And you could possibly push someone away from the sunnah and from the way of the salaf by your misinterpretation of something. Right? So as we said before, we should always go with that which is clear, the clearest thing, the easiest, simple way. However, there's some instances in which there's strong khilaf, and you're trying to call someone to do basic things from the sunnah. It isn't from wisdom that you mention technical issues and force those views on them. Then in reality, the scholars of the past differed over it. The salaf themselves will be things to follow. So to level it, they should argue and debate and bring their proofs, as they will. But when we call other people that are outside, people that we're trying to bring to the haq, ahsan, the best man, and keep the people away from confusion. Fumble.
Alright, another position. When you were sujood, about the feet.
That's going to come later. Let that come later. That should stick now. No problem. At the end of the class right now, we want to stick this with the hand. Right? Fold it out. You had your hand up?
Yes. So those are the only three ways to place your hands on the palm, the wrist, and the forearm.
Say that again.
Those are the only three ways to place your hands.
The three ways which I know of, wallahu alam, that's mentioned in our hadith are those three. As for the elbow, ma'adri. I cannot recollect or recall at this moment that I read a hadith or heard in the class or been explained by a teacher or a scholar that the hand should be placed on the elbow. Allah alam. Tayyib. Nawasib. Moving on. Fadla. Yumna wala yusra. Go ahead.
It's two parts.
Two parts. Allah.
First part is very short. The definition of the something, the chest.
Ascenta. That's another issue.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Ascent. Because some people, they place their hands here. So the chest, we have to need a medical or some type of definition for the chest. Is this considered the chest on it? Would you consider this the chest? In Arabic. Got it. This is the chest?
In Arabic, I don't know.
Alright, in English, is this my chest?
Yeah.
This is my chest. Abu Abdurrahman, this is my chest?
By my language, no, your chest is a little low.
I said, play. Jake. The movement.
Even the
Mustafa,
even if you ask the doctor.
What's the chest? What's considered? Alright, play. Wait, this is considered what? What's this considered? It's the belly. Play, abdomen, belly. This is beneath the navel, without a doubt. Here's what? What is this considered? Torso. Is torso a chest? Breastplate? Zenith? Some people, they offer the salah, you may see their hands here. That's the chest. Okay, the swag. This question is just for you. If the word in Arabic says sadrihi, his chest, and we don't have another narration that specifically points out exactly what part of the chest. What do you think the most moderate place the hand should be placed?
In the middle.
In the middle. Not too high, not too low. What's it? I'll send to him. Khayr, inshallah. We moving on?
That makes no sense.
Allah, I'm sorry. We have a very, how can I say, the best wording. We have a talib in hikmah, and from hikmah is to be harsh in some instances. In some instances. This may be one of them. We have a talib in who came to the class late. I would say, how many benefits did he miss out on? كثير, huh? حياك الله أبو بكر. طيب. Okay, we'll just take a few more salah hadith bidnillah. The next hadith, the author, and before we go on, there are several other issues that we don't have the time to mention with regards to where the hands go. Khayran inshallah. Why are the hands placed on the chest? Some scholars say to grab the heart. Yaqeen and not to be afraid from losing your heart and your iman. Other scholars say that it is better for a person to have more khushu'. Other scholars such as Imam al-Shafi'i, he said, I place my hands on my chest because the Rasul did it. Clear, simple. The next hadith it says here, وعن عبادة بن الصامت رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بأم القرآن متفق عليه. وفي رواية لابن حبان ودار قطني لا تجزي صلاة لا يقرأ فيها بفاتحة الكتاب. وفي أخرى لأحمد وأبي داود بالترمذي وابن حبان لعلكم تقرؤون خلف إمامكم قلنا نعم قال لا تفعلوا إلا بفاتحة الكتاب فإنه لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بها. وعن أنس رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وأبا بكر وعمر كانوا يفتتحون الصلاة بالحمد لله رب العالمين متفق عليه. زاد مسلم لا يذكرون بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم في أول القراءة ولا في آخرها. وفي رواية ابن أحمد والنسائي وابن خزيمة لا يجهرون ببسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وفي أخرى لابن خزيمة كانوا يسرون. وعلى هذا يحمل النفي في رواية مسلم خلافا لمن علها. انتبهوا جيدا. Ibn Hajar rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, narrated Ubadah ibn as-Samit radiyallahu anhu, who was from what tribe? Abu Bakr. What tribe did Ubadah ibn as-Samit come from? He was from the Ansar in Medina. He wasn't a Muhajir. He wasn't one who migrated from Mecca. We know that the Ansar in Medina came from how many tribes? Abu Bakr. 10. How many tribes in Medina? How many tribes in Medina? Abu Zayd. اثنين ولا اثنتان ولا ثنتان. طيب, what are those two tribes? Aus, Al-Aus and Al-Khazraj. Ahsant. Jazakumullah khair. Aus and Khazraj. They were the two tribes of which the Ansar were composed of. Tariq, huh? Ahlan wa sahlan. Sabah al-khair. Good morning. طيب. Aus and Khazraj. Aus and Khazraj. One more question, a bonus question. What were the tribes, or the three tribes of the Yahud in Medina? Because we have the Ansar, and in Medina there were Muslims, Munafiqun, and Yahud. There were no, what were the names of those tribes? We need to know this because their stories are mentioned in the Quran. Hold on. Bani Qurayza, طيب. Bani Nadir. الله أكبر. طيب, بسم الله. The hadith of Ubadah radiallahu anhu proves the obligation of reciting Surah Al-Fatiha in the Salah, and that it is a pillar of the Salah. Whereas the Messenger of Allah ﷺ clearly negated the prayer of those who do not recite Surah Al-Fatiha. If it wasn't for the case that Surah Al-Fatiha is done inside of the prayer, its recitation would be considered what? A what? A shart, a prerequisite. Because he clearly said, La salata, no prayer. But due to the fact that the Fatiha is only recited inside of the prayer, it is now a pillar and not a prerequisite. So this hadith, it proves the obligation of reciting Surah Al-Fatiha in the Salah. Khayran inshallah. Abu Abdurrahman, Talib, Shukri, everyone. Bismillah, this hadith proves who has to recite the Fatiha? Everyone. There are 3 levels of those who make Salah. 3 levels, or 3 classes of people here. We have the Imam, we have the Ma'moom, and we have the Munfarid. The Imam who's leading the prayer, the one who's praying behind the Imam, and the one who's offering the prayer by himself. You have to understand that there's certain rulings that are specific to certain people and not all people. And there are some rulings that apply to all 3. Certain things that are obligatory upon the Imam, the one praying behind the Imam, and the one who comes late to the Salah and he prays by himself. Tayyib? Wadih? Such as what? Such as what? Hanif? Such as what? What will be a ruling that applies to all 3 people? Anything. Takbir. Tayyib. Something else. Fatiha. La. Taslim. Assent. Something else. Prostration. Hakila. Clear. Now, this issue of reciting Surah Al-Fatiha is an issue in which the scholars of Islam, they differ. They differ on this issue. Who is it obligatory to recite Surah Al-Fatiha? There is total agreement. Or we won't say agreement. We would say that reciting Surah Al-Fatiha is obligatory upon the Imam and upon the person who's offering the prayer by himself. Without a doubt. Clear. Simple. It is obligatory. Mandatory. For those 2 people to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. The question now is, the one who's praying behind the Imam, the Ma'moom, does he have to recite Surah Al-Fatiha?
No.
Everybody got the issue? You got the issue, Shukri? We said the Imam has to recite it. The one who's praying by himself has to recite it.
If the Imam doesn't...
Leave off the issue if the Imam is reciting day or night, a general ruling. Does the one praying behind the Imam have to recite the Fatiha?
No.
From the asl, the basic. Then the issues of fiqh, we have to deal with them from the beginning. Then we gradually ascend. This hadith clearly states now. Hadith is clear. Anybody else? The next hadith says, there's a narration of Ibn Hibban and Adar al-Qutni that says, inshallah, you will do a biography of these 2 Imams before the next class. Not next week, but the next class. Ibn Hibban and Adar al-Qutni. Who are they? It says, La tujzi salatun. A prayer in which the Fatiha of the book is not recited is invalid. That's what the hadith says. Then there's another hadith that he quotes. Another narration says that the Prophet ﷺ asked the companions, perhaps you recite behind your Imam. He asked them, you recite behind your Imam? They said, yes, of course we do. He said, do not recite behind your Imam except for the Fatiha of the book. For indeed there is no prayer for the one who recites not the Fatiha. He says, keep silent when you're behind the Imam except for the Fatiha. So these ahadith, they show that it's what? Obligatory upon the one who's praying behind the Imam to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Khayr, inshallah. There are 3 main opinions. The first opinion states that it is obligatory for Surah Al-Fatiha to be recited upon the Imam, upon the person who's behind the Imam during all prayers. The prayers that are recited aloud and the prayers which are recited, that every single person in the Salah must recite the Fatiha. Everybody stay with me. This first view states Shukri. This one group of scholars, they say every person must recite the Fatiha in every single prayer. Whether it's Salatul Maghrib, Salatul Dhuhr, they must recite the Fatiha. Wadah? Clear. The second view states it is not obligatory. It isn't obligatory to recite the Fatiha in any prayer for the one who's behind the Imam. It's the exact opposite of the first opinion. As long as you're behind the Imam, keep silent. Salatul Dhuhr, Salatul Jum'ah, Salatul Fajr, Salatul Isha, Salatul Janazah. If the Imam recites, then you keep silent. Sirriya wal Jahriya. Pay close attention to the details now. Night prayers or daytime prayers. Prayers that are recited aloud, prayers which are recited silently. They say if you're behind the Imam, keep silent. That's the second view. The third view states that you are to keep silent behind the Imam if you pray in a salat that's made aloud. And you are to recite the Fatiha if you pray behind the Imam in a prayer that is recited silently or to yourself. Wadah? The third opinion is detailed. It's between the first two. Is that if you're praying behind the Imam for Salatul Maghrib, you should do what, Abu Bakr?
Be silent.
Be silent. If you're praying behind the Imam for Salatul Asr, you should do what? Recite the Fatiha to yourself. These are the three main opinions. And the people of knowledge, they have differed over this issue from the time of the companions and the Salaf up until this day. Up until this day. The opinion, and Allah knows best, which seems to be the most correct, the closest opinion, and the easiest opinion is what? Follow. Recite all the time. The first opinion. Quiet. The first one. Quiet.
What's the third one?
Athadif. The third one. The third one. Athadif. Quiet. Anybody else? No one says the second opinion.
What's the three opinions? Just real quick. I'm gonna take my. I'm saying just three.
Subhanallah. He said he came late, but he's on. Almost time. Almost time.
I'm just saying real quick.
Right, la vex. Maybe he wants to be reassured. La vex. That was a good one, Abu Bakr. He called you that. You gotta get him back. It's obligatory for you to get him back. Right. The first opinion is that the person behind the Imam must recite the Fatiha. Absolutely. Asr, Maghrib, Fajr, any prayer, silent, aloud, he has to recite the Fatiha. The second opinion is the exact opposite. When you're behind the Imam, keep silent. Don't recite anything. And the third opinion states, if you pray behind the Imam for a prayer that's made aloud, keep silent. But if you pray behind the Imam for the prayer that's made silently or done silently, then you recite the Fatiha. Those are the three main opinions. Wallet?
No.
Which one?
I'm going to go in the middle.
In the middle, number two.
No,
Khair, inshallah. Abu Bakr, Ali, Dalil. What's the proof of what you say? We want the proof and we want the reason. Tabihu. Al-naql wal-aql. Because the text of the book and the sunnah are based upon divine wisdom. Divine wisdom. So that statement, there is no common sense in the religion. There's no reason in religion is an incorrect statement. Allah Azza wa Jalla has ordered us to use our uqul. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. However, the problem with the people of innovations is that they put their intellect or their reasoning before the text and over the text. But people, they go extreme on the opposite side. And if you say anything of reason or common sense, Mu'tazila, Jahmiya, this is a khata. It's a khata. طيب؟ أيوة تفضل أبو بكر.
we can go with the Imam or with the Imam. So,
what is the proof for your opinion? Quick proof. What's the delay for you? What's your opinion? You took the first opinion, right?
No.
That is obligatory in all times. With delay?
No, I said the last one.
The third. Jameel. Tafadhal. Everybody listen carefully. Yalla, bismillah.
What I go with is Prophet ﷺ, time when he started, like if the Imam recited the Fatiha, your Fatiha applies on him.
To follow him.
You follow him.
That this is included in the general following of the Imam. And if you're reciting the Fatiha, when will you listen to the Imam's recitation?
So that was
Common sense. Right? And we want to get to those issues. Talk about you put the aql. You saw what he did, Abu Zayd? He put the aql before the naql. Khalas. Get out the masjid. Yalla, Abu Bakr. Come on. In the Quran. What's the dalil that you should keep silent behind the imam? He mentioned the dalil. He mentioned the dalil, but we were hasty. He said the dalil is the general command to follow the imam. هذا هو. Right? And the aql, the common sense or the reason behind it will be what? If he's reciting it. Jayy, ahsan. Alright, khalas. Do we have another proof stating it's obligatory to keep silent? Aywa. La. The hadith that we use supports the first opinion, and only the first opinion. No salah without the Fatiha. Keep silent except for the Fatiha. The hadith support what opinion? The first opinion. Hold on.
Would it be the first thing you be cited that our brother be cited in the prayer?
Which is?
Not.
لا ها ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي. هل يقرأ في الصلاة صوت كلام النبي؟
لا ولكن
أولى هنا القرآن أولى. If you should raise your voice over the Prophet's speech, then how about Allah's speech? جيد. طيب لا بأس. طيب you like that, huh? You like that? طيب جيد. ولكن طيب. He said it was weak. Father, come on, shukri, yalla, save him. Yeah, well, I'm the man. Matters, yeah. Fight. Get in the fight. Come on, we want it messy. لا ما عندي شيء. I can't help you. It's your turn.
Okay. The hadith of when the Rasul when he was praying. This is
First of all, what's your opinion?
I'm on the opinion on the last third.
The third. Ahsan. فإنما نريد منك. We only want from you a dalil which states to keep silent in the prayer.
This is when the Rasul when they were praying with Sahaba.
Aywa.
When he started the Fatiha. Another Sahaba right behind him. He started reading behind him loudly. Rasul he heard that.
Aywa.
When he finished the salah, he turned right away and his face changed. Who was that person who was listening? It was me. Who are you? Pick your head. He was quiet. He asked 3 times and then he said, أنا يا رسول الله. He said, well, he said, because that's why I said, if I'm mistaken, he said, when the Imam recites, you do not raise, you just silent and listen for the Imam recitation.
طيب.
If I'm wrong,
طيب لا جميل. المهم شوف لا. يعني in a class, in a circle of knowledge, in a knowledge-based debate, not a debate based off of knowledge-based, this is what Talab al-Ilm should do. It's not from speaking without knowledge. It's not from, the Prophet asked the companions, men and Muflis. Who was the Muflis? And they told him what they thought the Muflis was. أَتَدْرُونَ مَا الْغِيبَةِ. Do you know what a ghiba is? Who are those people that will enter paradise without the punishment? The companions, so this is a different issue. If someone asks you in the street for a fatwa and you don't know, that's different. But in a class, try, use your mind. We want this. We want to be Tulab Ilm. Fadl Tariq. But he missed the point. What's the common sense? What is the reason behind keeping silent behind the Imam? Which is? I didn't hear anything from the Quran. I heard him say something.
I don't remember the ayah, but which is the ayah is when Allah
we need you to be strong.
Kalamullah, when it's reciting, you have to be silent and pay attention and understand the meaning, and you have to be quiet.
Right, Jayyid.
And you have to stand.
Jayyid. That's what it means. But we need the ayah. The Quran cannot be related by meaning, verbatim. That's hadith.
If you give me homework, I get you this.
Fadl Tariq.
Yeah, for my opinion on number 2.
Number 2. Fadl.
Was the actual Imam's recitation.
The Imam's recitation, like Abu Bakr, but just for 2.
It's sufficient.
Sufficient for everybody. Right, la bas. The verse in the Quran is what, Abu Bakr? From what surah? Yeah, Hafaz. What surah? Al-A'raf. Right, what is your ayah? What page is it on? The third page of Al-A'raf?
No.
Abdul Shakur, what number is Surah Al-A'raf in the Quran? Quickly. Number 7. We don't read the Quran enough. We should know this. Father, Abu Bakr, come on, Abu Zayd, help him out. Surah Al-A'raf? Jayyid. Al-A'raf is the 7th surah in the Quran. It's from the 7 longest surahs in the Quran. Father. وإذا قرئ القرآن فاستمعوا له وأنصتوا لعلكم ترحمون. في أول السورة والآخر السورة. Right, in the end of Surah Al-A'raf, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, and whenever the Quran is recited, then keep silent and listen to it attentively in order that you will receive mercy. Right, one may say this verse is general and this hadith is khas, is specific, so therefore no. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he quoted several narrations from the Sahaba, from the Salaf Salih, that this verse was only sent down by Allah regarding the Salah and praying behind the Imam. Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah, الكلام طويل جدا. He explained this in detail, that this verse in Surah Al-A'raf was sent down regarding the prayer. So in actuality, it isn't general. It's khas. And many of the Sahaba and the Salaf, they said, whenever the Quran is recited, then listen and pay attention. That's from one aspect. The next aspect is to say that the hadith stating that there's no prayer without the recitation of the Fatiha pertain to when the Imam is silent or when you're praying by yourself. And they say that this third hadith, don't recite except for the Fatiha of the book, is da'if. And as we studied and researched the hadith, it is what it is. Wallahu alam. The scholars differ over authenticity. Now they say, the last point, the common sense, the reasoning behind it is, if I'm reciting behind the Imam, he's reciting the Fatiha, I'm reciting the Fatiha, when will I listen and reflect on the Quran if we're both reciting?
You disturb yourself.
This is firstly. Some scholars who hold the view that you should recite the Fatiha after the Imam, or when the Imam keeps silent. He's sakatat al-Imam. Some Imams, they say Allahu Akbar, and he keeps silent. They make their istiftah, Allahumma ba'id, subhanakallahumma, whatever, and they give the people a chance to recite the Quran. Or after they recite the Fatiha, they keep silent for a short period of time before they recite the surah. So they say you should recite the Fatiha before the Imam or after. One may say, how is this? How can you recite the Fatiha before the Imam when you're supposed to follow the Imam? Or the second problem is that when he keeps silent, he only keeps silent for a short period of time. So you're going to recite the Fatiha cave? I said you're going to be rushing. You're going to be rushing. You're going to be mustaches. And if you rush through the Fatiha, what's the purpose? How will you reflect on it? Or let's say even we can go even further and say, when the Imam recites the surah, then I recite the Fatiha. So if you're reciting the Fatiha and he's reciting wa shamsi wa duhaha, when will you listen and reflect on Surah Shams? So therefore, Wallahu alam, the opinion that seems to be most correct, is the third opinion from the text and from the reason. Wallahu alam. It's not me. I'm saying. The man make a mistake in the salah. When will you fix them if you're busy reciting? But there's another point. Ikhwan, there's one more point, and that point is what, Abdul Mu'min? That point is what? I'm trying to say, that point is what? Is that the safest view. The safest view is the first view. The safest, the ahwad. The safest. And that is because the scholars of that first view, they say the prayer is invalid without it. The scholars of the second And third view, they don't mention the word invalidity. And whenever there is a scholar saying that something is batil, invalid, without this, then you should stick with that one.
So that was he quoted Ruku. He said remain.
This is actually supporting. This is my point. This is going to support the first opinion.
He's talking about towards the Fatih itself.
Sahih, what you're saying. But what Tariq's making is a good point. And the scholars, they have answered that question. They've answered that question. And they've said that reciting Surah Al-Fatiha is a pillar of the prayer, except for the one who comes in and he gets the ruku. Except for that one situation. That if he comes in and he catches the imam in ruku, tasqut anhu. He's exempt and he's alleviated from reciting the Fatiha based off of that one belief. So that's a good, that shows the Tariq, mashallah, his train of thought is jade, mashallah. It's good. However, there are some scholars who refute that and they say, La salata liman lam yaqra bi fatihatil kitab. They say that hadith can't be used. There is no prayer for he who does not recite the Fatiha.
What is the difference for the recite though? The Fatiha, right? Say if the man just recited that Fatiha and then went down, boom.
Jade.
That's all he offered. So say you did not, say he was fast.
Right. That's clear. That the opinion that you, not the opinion, but the delil that you mentioned, and the opinion that Tariq is taking, is that the imam's recitation is your recitation. That's jayyid, la ba's. However, if we can take all three views that are here, point A, B, and C, and merge them, then that's ahsan. To harmonize between the opinions, then that's best. And that is, it is obligatory to recite it in the silent prayers, which supports the first opinion. And you do not recite the Fatiha in the allowed prayers, which supports the second view. So therefore, that view
is in the middle.
Aywa.
What's that? The hadith, the first opinion.
Because it's clear. No.
The Shaykh explained that was am, that was a general ruling.
Aywa.
When the general ruling comes, when it gets separating, ruling gonna change according of the the situation and the action.
Jacob, at the moment, you had an issue. Hold on.
No, that was what I was going to say for the conversation that the man needs to out loud and be silent. And when it's silent, you recite it to yourself.
Right.
That would be the conversation.
But what if he was too fast and he went down quietly? Boom. He's finished it out and he went down. You ain't making it. You got to
Right.
He's silent though.
But he's still silent. He's faster than you while he's silent. He go down. He's fast.
Right.
He's still
The woman, what he's saying, that in a silent prayer, let's say he recited quickly, and you didn't even recite the Fatiha. So how does it apply? He says that proves that you don't have to recite it behind the imam. That's jade. However, somebody can come and say, is that, yes, he has to follow the imam. But if he has enough time to recite it, then he must recite it. And if not, then the pillar is taken away from him because of the obligation of following the imam. So, in actuality, you're on the same page. Allah doesn't burden so more than you bear. The proof, the lesson. What's the lesson from all of this hadith, all of this long kalam? The lesson from this one, Abdullah, is what? His lesson is what? Is that we see here the beauty of ilm and of fiqh, and how you have different understandings, and how one belief could be used something totally contrast to your view. Right? And this is why the Prophet says, "Man yuridillahu bihi khayran, yufaqihu fid-din." Whatever Allah wants good for, He gives them fiqh of the religion. He gives them the ability to memorize the proofs as you did, and to understand them. And his point and your point make total sense. And Abu Abdurrahman, and this is why Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, and others mention the barakah of having munaqasha, of knowledge-based debates, not argument, not killing your brother and trying to prove that you're more knowledgeable and I know more and I'm firm and you're not. La. But to sit down and to trade knowledge and views. And that's how you benefit. And that's the way of the Sahaba and the Salaf al-Salih, and the ulama up until this day. The ulama up until this day, wallahi, I had teachers, several teachers in Medina, in the College of Hadith, they would come into the classroom and they would ask questions. And wallahi, many of these teachers were renowned, doctors, PhD, strong in hadith. And they would sit down and they would listen to the students. And they would debate, and they would allow the students to debate with them and fight and argue. La ya sheikh, daif, la 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 la. Wallahi, in the classroom, like Tariq, in the classroom. And the best of the teachers were those who sat there and listened. And I said, I'm a sheikh, I'm knowledgeable, you don't know, I've been teaching the subject before you were born. La. Because this student could know more. As Khidr radiallahu anhu, rahimahullah, he knew more than Musa in some issues. So the sign of a person who has bi'idhnillah sincerity, a person of true knowledge, is that he's humble. And he listens to that which is brought to him. As long as it's ilm, as long as it's knowledge based. That's the key. Not kalam tayyib. So this is a benefit for us, is that we should sit. One of the mashayikh in Medina, he asked us, how do we study? And we said we study like this, and we memorize like that, and we do this. He said, this is wrong. He says, but in our times, years, 20, 30 years ago, we would sit down with the teacher, he would pass the book around, everyone would read the book, and he would ask us, what did you understand from that? And what did you get from it? And what did you get from it? And I got this, and they would compare and debate their views and their opinions. And that's how it made sure that everyone understood correctly. Tayyib. As for the person, some teachers, they come in and they don't allow no argument. It's like, Salaf, a person of knowledge is open. Tayyib. So these fiqh issues, sit down, read Bulugh al-Maram. What's your brother? Hey, well, I'm sheikh, you're sheikh, I'm la 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 la. And it has to be an etiquette. And the issues in which it's permissible for there to be khilaf. As for the issues in which it's clear, then that's a different. Well, we'll stop here, and once again, none of you are forced to take my opinion. I'm just giving you the information, explaining it, and then you are a Muslim. You have the responsibility between you and your Lord. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam.